Let's see, our next question is from Michael on multivitamins. He's asking powder or pill? Michael says, if a person chooses to have a multivitamin, is it better in pill form or powder to drink with water? I ask because fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed in the presence of fat, and it would seem drinking a powder, for example, in a liter of water over several hours might mean that the vitamins might not be absorbed as well. No fatty meals in between to help absorb said vitamins. Where a pill could be taken with a meal or with a little fat. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's some, again, quite a few things to consider there. Loren Cordain had an interesting paper that I don't know that he ever finished or what happened with it, but he was actually working with some mathematicians trying to catalog like every food imaginable, basically whole foods, and kind of like a 3D mapping of the amounts and distribution of vitamins and minerals in these foods. And so it would be like a 3D grid, and, like vitamin D in liver would be real big and vitamin A in liver would be really big. But all these things kind of get mapped out. And what the preliminary work suggested that there was this kind of distribution within food that is just really not well represented within supplements. Supplements tend to have far more of various things like B vitamins. They tend to occur in ratios that are not physiologically represented within food again. And there was some thought around, like, in particular, these vitamins involved, the B vitamins in particular, specifically in the methylation pathways. There was some concern there that doing super physiological doses of vitamins that turn on and off methylation pathways could be problematic. Like, these are some of the things that maybe are negative influences of cancer. So now that's a piece. And then another piece of this story is that although people are maybe overly geeked out on fasting currently, like, I think that there's a little bit of hype associated with that. If we can just figure out how to not overeat, eat 2 or 3 meals per day, that's probably doing pretty well. But one of the key features of just not eating all the time, of not snacking all the time, of not drinking sugary beverages all the time, is that there are periods of rest for our whole system, the digestion, our vascular bed, all that type of stuff. So that's kind of problematic in my mind from the perspective of drinking a vitamin, concoction. I think that Michael's spot on with the notion that there are some fat-soluble vitamins that need some fat to be well absorbed. There is a company called New Chapter that has what they end up doing is they give, it's kind of funny, they end up giving synthetic vitamins, because this is basically where most of these things come from, feed them to different yeast strains. Then these things get kind of biocomplexed into the structures that we would see within food. And then they've created supplements that are really right at that kind of RDA recommendation, which, I mean, there's all kinds of hoopla around, like, recommended daily allowance, and I know they changed it, like the minimum daily, I forget what they changed it to, but the basic idea is that they're not like off the charts super high. In theory, they maybe represent a little bit more what we would see with food. And so if I were to pick one or the other, and I would really ask the question, why do you need a multivitamin? The research, and it's mainly epidemiological, but people taking multivitamins don't live particularly longer. They don't live longer than anybody else. There's some suggestion that they may not do as well as people not taking multivitamins. And this is within like the healthy user bias scenario, which in theory, people taking vitamins are overall more health conscious and whatnot. There was some really interesting stuff. People were taking, I forget if it was vitamin E or beta carotene supplements, or maybe a combination, but they were smokers. So they noticed from epidemiology, people who ate a vitamin E rich diet with carotenoids tended to have fewer problems if they were smokers. So they supplemented this stuff, and they had to stop the trial because these people started developing cancer at much higher rates than what they saw from the baseline. So, I'm a big fan of the right types of supplements under the right circumstances, but a lot of these trying to replace poor diet with supplements, it's a tough thing. And people will probably rightfully point out that our soils are depleted and food is harvested early, so it's not as nutrient dense. Like, there's a lot of different layers and nuance to all that stuff. So I can appreciate that there are maybe compelling reasons to supplement, but I think it's something that folks want to be a little bit careful with too. Like, and I wouldn't run willy-nilly into this. So first thing, I would try to find something like the New Chapter product where it's not a super physiological dose of these different nutrients. And then I would definitely take it with a meal. So that at a minimum, these vitamins and minerals that would otherwise only be consumed with food, because it should be coming from food, that it's actually available with that. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.